Welcome to another episode of Women in Focus. Our woman in focus today is a therapist. Yeah, I needed one. So I said, yes, we should interview her for television and Women in Focus. She has been participating in Spice Radio's program in the morning buzz. Her name is Dr. Natasha Ghosh, and she is our Woman in Focus today. Natasha Ghosh, Dr. Ghosh. Should I call you Dr.
No,
Ghosh?
Natasha is just
Natasha
fine.
is fine.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
It seems like I know you forever.
Yes, you have seen me since I was very small. Or I have seen you since I was very small.
But I think I have seen you at different places. Maybe we haven't been introduced.
Yeah.
But, you know.
We're around.
We've been around, right? Now, I know that you'd been participating in the morning show with Natasha,
Yes.
Mondays. Now, the emphasis of your chats have always been something to do with mental health.
Correct.
Has that been your favorite topic forever?
I wonder actually if it's evolved from gossiping to talking about and supporting maybe at a very young age. You know, talking about people, why we do things, or what was the intention behind something. So
Yeah.
that's something I've had since childhood.
Yeah.
But I think what I've learned to do over the years is hone that skill for good rather than girl drama at school.
I think what you said just now, talking about things and then wondering and being curious about it.
Yes.
I think that is the essence of what you have accomplished. And
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's the key. I think when we talk about that difference between gossiping and discussion and encouraging investigation and curiosity is the intention with which we're talking about it.
now, I know that you've also done TED Talk. And what was the topic of that talk?
The topic was about how we find our own internal validation, but also how we view the world. The talk opens with, "What will my mother say?" So this idea that we hear outside voices and we think they're our own.
Yeah.
And we have that inner critic, but actually it's not. You know, the voice that should be inside our head should be the one that supports us, that helps us grow, that helps us expand. Yet, you know, humans take on the worst of everything for themselves and their own greatest critic.
As a child, when did you always want to be a therapist?
No, I don't. I wanted to either be a lawyer or a movie star. So,
Both of them would have been okay.
I guess, so yeah, either way. But throughout my school years, I definitely was somebody that my friends came to talk to. I did the peer counseling program. I went through psychology as the first degree before I was thinking about law school. My mother said I would always make a very good lawyer because I like to argue everything.
Yes.
And when I was at UBC, I actually really enjoyed the work that I did at the lab, but it was in animal behavior, not with
Right.
people. And so when I went on to do my PhD in England, it was with animals, looking
Right.
at development of human understandings of the world.
Right.
But it wasn't until recently that I actually moved in officially into therapy.
Now, we call people who have a PhD degree doctor as well. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have knowledge of the autonomy of
Yeah, don't come to me for a heart attack. But my practice does use the connection between mind and body because we can't separate those two
No.
things. And so we do talk about the nervous system. We do talk about the fight or flight system. We talk about cortisol and dopamine and all of these things because I think those two things are highly entwined.
Now, the buzzword nowadays is mental health. Earlier, we would sort of not give a name to it.
No.
And now we have legitimized a person's erratic behavior to a term called mental health. How do you see that?
Oh, that's a big question because mental health is important.
Okay.
So mental well-being,
Is
right?
important,
How
yes.
we are in the world is
Yes.
important. And how we are in the world is a result of our biology and all the experiences that we've had. And I think that when you talk about mental health, then someone's saying, well, it's because I'm depressed, or because I'm anxious, or because I'm traumatized. Health and talking about mental health isn't an excuse. If you're asking, is mental health something that's overused?
Yeah.
Probably, in the way that we use it, in the same way that people talk about depression or
Right.
anxiety in these terms. Actually, I was listening to a podcast on the way over, and they were saying, this experience was so traumatizing. And I'm like, actually, that wasn't trauma. That was an impactful experience, but it wasn't trauma
Has
necessarily.
got something bigger connotation to it.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I asked you is because sometimes these words hide the real issue. Like, for example, when they talk about sexual assault, instead of the word rape is such a strong word, and that has been camouflaged as sexual assault. That can be somebody touching you
Yeah.
or raping.
Yeah.
So I think that's a totally different topic. But I wanted to bring that in because a guy who just recently drove his car into people at the Lapu Lapu festival has a mental problem,
Yeah.
has a mental issue. Now that is a severe mental illness,
Yeah.
right?
It doesn't excuse the behavior. I think what we're trying to do is open some compassion for individuals. But I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that when we talk about rape, sexual assault, trauma, impactful, significant experiences, we need to use the language that is appropriate for the incident itself.
Right.
Is that what you're...
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's interesting, there was a research study done looking at how words impact our nervous system. And they would take the same sentence, so I feel terrified or I feel worried. And what they noticed was even when you had the same ending on the sentence, people that used the word terrified were extra activated in their body. Their fight or flight system was
Wow.
extra. So I had a client that came in to me once and said, I'm terrified about getting my hair cut. And I said, are you actually terrified or are you worried? And so we started, and I think that's the other thing. People think therapy is about these really big problems, and it's actually not. It's about any challenge that you're having in living. And for her, getting a haircut felt very worrisome, but it wasn't terrifying. So we were able to change the language and then actually see why the haircut was so terrifying, because her hair and her outward appearance was so important to her job, right?
Okay.
So it's not about the haircut, it's about all the consequences afterwards.
That's true.
So, yeah.
I'm going to come back and talk to you about how did you become this?
This? Which part of this?
The analyzing part of it, okay? But let's take a short commercial break and come back. Dr. Natasha Ghosh is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus is Dr. Natasha Ghosh, and we're talking about mental health. Now, I wanted to take you back to your childhood. Where were you born?
I was born here. I was born and brought up in Vancouver.
Wow.
My parents live in the same house that they brought me home to from the hospital.
No kidding.
So it's old. So, yeah.
So, what do your parents do?
My dad's a civil and structural engineer.
Right.
And my mom came and did some education and then has done many things in her lifetime. She's been a real estate agent, a homemaker, an artist, lots of different things.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, how many in the family?
Just me.
Oh, they had you and they said, that is it?
Well, so the story I always tell goes like this. It says, my parents, depending on whether I was good or naughty, they would say, we tried so hard and we had a daughter like you, versus we tried so hard and then we had a daughter like you.
And which one is true?
Well, obviously all the good things.
Of course.
Depends on who you ask.
And upbringing here, how was it? Are they religious? Are they very culturally aware? Because your last name means that you are Bengali.
Correct, that's right. So my parents were the founding members of the Lower Mainland Bengali Cultural Society.
Beautiful.
And I remember childhoods at the temple on Albert Street, the VHP
Yes.
temple. You know, during Durga Puja, we would take vacation days
Right.
and the red carpet that was on that floor. We still talk about it to this day, and the
Right.
velvet wallpaper. So we were involved in the cultural aspect. My parents, I sometimes would call ourselves holiday Hindus,
Yeah.
because we used to go every Sunday to temple, but
Right.
that kind of stopped. And my parents always talked about spirituality
Yes.
over religion.
Right.
You know, there is the ritual aspect of it, and
Yes.
there's the community aspect. But what matters is your connection here.
Yes.
And that was really something that I've taken with me my entire life.
And so, not a practicing Hindu, but a spiritual person.
Yes, I recently started learning Vedic philosophy and chanting. So
Beautiful.
that's something that's been close to my heart. My dad has a very beautiful and resonant voice when he chants.
Wow.
And, you know, when I was 13, I rolled my eyes, but I also feel that deep in my body now.
Because it is believed that if you are pronouncing the words correctly,
Exactly.
they have a profound
Yes.
effect on your well-being.
That's right. Well, I mean, we know that sound and frequency has an impact on our bodies. You know, we're 75% water, and you
That's
can
right.
watch when sound travels through water, how it changes, and that's happening in our bodies too.
All the time.
All the time, yeah.
Now, your interest in helping, because you are helping people. You are there to listen to them. So, is listening very important in your business?
It is, but I think some people maybe think I don't listen enough in my personal life. Maybe, I don't know. But of course, yes. So listening is important, but it's not just listening, it is how you're listening.
Right.
What are the things that you're listening for? Are you placing your opinions on what you're listening to?
Right.
So we're really listening with an ear that is focused on the person in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
You showed me a beautiful picture of your mom and dad and your daughter. So you're married and you have kids.
I do.
And how many?
I have two. One is 19 and the other one is 14.
And are you a parent like your parents? Or are you a parent that is now a therapist and is looking at the kids?
It's a little bit of both. I remember this one time, my youngest daughter, I asked her, I said, Anya, do you feel like you can talk to me? And she said, no.
No.
And I thought, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, take deep breaths, Natasha, it's okay. And I said to her, oh, I'm curious about why that is. Like inside I'm dying, right? And I'm curious about why you feel that way. And she said, well, because every time I want to talk about something, it turns into a big, long conversation. She was, I can handle myself. And I thought, okay, great. Actually, that you feel that you can handle yourself, I think is really important and a skill that I want you to learn. But I'm still human, right? I can have my best therapist self on a day, and I'm still human. And I don't want to be a therapist with my kids because I
Yes.
want to be their mom and I want to
Yeah.
be their friend. So.
And how did you meet the person who is the love of your life?
Richard, I'm not sure if I should tell you the real story. I'll tell you the story we tell everybody, and then I'll decide. So the story is that we met through a mutual friend.
Okay.
Okay. The real story is that we were in a club, maybe having one too many beverages, where our friend happened to be. But we were both grad students in England.
Right. Yes.
And we met there. He was doing a PhD, and I was doing my PhD at the
Right.
time. And so we met there, and then we stayed together. We've been together over 25 years now.
Isn't that beautiful? And what was the reaction of mom and dad?
Well, they've been very open about, I remember when I was about 12 or 13, my mom pulled me aside one day and she said, we would like for you to marry somebody Indian. Culture, language, but the Bengali community wasn't very big, and we all
No.
kind of grew up as brothers and sisters.
Right.
But she said, well, but maybe if you can't marry someone Indian, marry someone Italian or Greek because they'll have like similar family values. And then I found Richard. So I don't know if you've ever watched that movie, My Big Fat Greek
Yes,
Wedding.
yes.
His family was the dry white toast. That Greek family is trying so hard for, to make this relationship with them.
Right.
And his family was very British that
Yes.
way. But you know, always been very caring. And there
Right.
was this time where I had my appendix out when I was in England,
Right.
and he was living in London, and I was living in Exeter, and he came and stayed with me. And I think that really showed my parents that he would take care of me and love me.
Isn't
and
that
was-
beautiful?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to come to your profession and talk a little bit more about that, because it is more interesting than everything else that we've talked about.
Okay.
But let's take a short commercial
Sure.
break. Natasha is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Dr. Natasha Ghosh is our Woman in Focus today. Now, beautiful family, beautiful mom and dad, happy personality. When you are with people,
Yes.
helping them out, do you come home sometimes very sad, or are you always upbeat?
I'm a pretty positive person. I definitely learned perseverance, courage, how to find the beauty in the darkness from my parents, especially my mom. And so yeah, like it is challenging, and I can see why many people get burnt out in this profession.
Right.
Especially when you're coming up against systemic issues.
Right.
But the clients that I work with are dealing with some pretty hard things. But what I need to remember is that my job is to hold space for their pain. It's not to take it on for myself. It is to be with them in that pain and to validate, to experience, and to help them feel seen, heard, and then to offer some guidance or support where I can.
Right.
But it's not mine.
Yes.
You know, and that's hard, especially right now. The world is really hard, and it's hard not to feel the pain and to feel the hurt. And I feel those things too, but we also have to live.
Yes. And also you have to have that courage to look beyond it and help them. So that's why they are
Absolutely.
there.
And if I can have that, if I can be that pillar for someone because I have the capacity to do so, I've always had a larger capacity than many people that I know. So that is leading me in certain directions in my work now that I think are important. But that's something that I've always had. And people have asked me, like, how did you get that? And because we want to foster these things. And I think that part of it is in watching the people around me and seeing what
Right.
they have done, but also tapping into what I know to be true about myself.
Yeah.
Actually, so today is Father's Day, and I
Right.
was writing a letter to my dad. It's my 50th year,
Yes.
and so I wrote a letter to my mother of gratitude and thankfulness for and how I saw her.
Yes.
Because I think it's important to show people, you know,
Yes.
what we've learned and see in them.
Yeah.
And for my dad this year, one of the things that I wrote in the letter was how he used to call me Tiger when I was younger. And I have to tell, I thought it was pretty ridiculous when I was oh my God, I love it, you know. But when I think about it now, a tiger is courage,
Yes.
pride, power, strength.
Yes.
And those things I've really embodied, and I think I've learned that in my
Beautiful.
childhood. Yeah.
And I'm glad that you've taken it in that sense, right?
Yeah. And we can all do that.
Yeah, of course we can. Do you sometimes come home and say, I live a very noble life?
Well, I don't know if I live a noble life, but I'm living the best life I can with how I know how to do so. You know, when I was 20, I'm sure lots of people have done this, where
Right.
you turn 20 and you think,
Yes.
I'm so clever now, right? And then you turn 30 and you think, remember how I thought I was so clever when I was 20? And then you turn 35, you go, remember how clever I thought when I was 30? And so now I'm 50, looking back, going, remember how clever I thought when I was 40? And I think we go through this constantly. We're shifting. And
Yes.
this idea that I know who I am,
Yeah.
it's always changing. And
Yes.
there's actually something very beautiful in it. And clients will come to me and they'll say, Natasha, I feel so lost. I
Yes.
don't know who I am. And I'll say to them, I know this is very hard for you,
Yeah.
but I'm very excited because now we can explore that and
Who
see what
you
that
are.
looks like for
That's right.
now
Yes.
until it changes again. So,
Now you're working on some projects
Yes.
currently. Tell us something about that.
Yeah, so I have a private practice, and then I did a TEDx talk last year, and then I also got funded by TELUS Story Hive to do a documentary series called How We Live.
Wow.
And it's all about women in midlife reclaiming their power, their lives, the direction and path that they want to go in. We're fed a very specific story about what it means to be in midlife, and,
Wow.
and these women don't show that. It's a very
No.
different experience, yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Well, more power to you.
Thanks. Can I tell you how the story came to be?
Yes.
So it actually came because I was talking to Shobana Jayamadhavan, who
Yeah.
is well known in our community.
Yes.
And I was going to India. I was going to go to India for 6 weeks in September.
Yes.
I was going to go trekking in the Himalayas
Okay.
and doing this spiritual pilgrimage. And then I thought, oh, maybe while I'm there, I'll do some sort of work there.
Right.
And it was interesting because I thought I had to do something to justify the trip that I was taking for myself,
I see.
right? So
Yeah.
already, even when we do our work, things creep in. So I talked to Shobana and I said, oh, you have contacts with lots of charities and organizations. What could I do? And she said, well, what are you interested in? And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. Because I'm doing this, I think I have to. I said, women or children?
Yeah.
And then she said, well, what are you fired up about? I said, I'll tell you what I'm fired up about. I was in Sephora the other day,
Yes.
and I was there with my 13-year-old, and this woman offered me a cream, she said, or like a serum, and she said, it's an anti-aging serum. And I said, oh, I don't use anti-aging products. She said, no worries, no worries. And then she showed me this cream, and it was moisturizing and firming. So this idea that she was still offering me something. Now, full disclosure, I hadn't had the best day. I was already tired. So I was like, women, I didn't start quite so strongly. I started with, I asked for something that wasn't anti-aging, and yet that isn't available to us. There's this idea that women aging gracefully means actually not aging at all. Men, blah, 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 this biological progression. And I got louder and louder as we were going on. And I noticed that some people were watching, and there were some young girls there. So I was like, this is my opportunity to spread my message. And so I kept going. And then at the end of it, my 13-year-old was like, Mama, she just works here. She was so embarrassed. And so I was like, okay. And she was right. And I said, you're right. But we need to understand that when you say you want this product because it helps you feel fresher,
Yeah.
it's because you have this idea of what you're supposed to look like and
Yes.
feel like that we've
Yeah.
been told. And we need to actually tap into our own hearts and our own ideas of who we are and who we want to be.
And that's where the idea came from.
That's where it came from.
Beautiful. Thanks to Sephora.
Yeah, thanks, Sephora. Exactly.
I think we can talk for hours.
I think so too.
Yeah, and maybe we should do that.
I would love to. It's been such a
Okay.
pleasure chatting with you.
Same here.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a woman in focus today.
Thank you for asking me to join you. I think it's such a wonderful experience to showcase so many voices.
Dr. Natasha Ghosh has been our woman in focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.